person asked for. But reports is usually long and comprehensive explanation of something. So it's expected to be long, but also I think they can be overdoing reports. But that one depends on the person you're writing the report for. Or the spec. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Start 10 minutes. You're welcome. Hello everyone. Hi. Is this Zaya? Zaya, if this is you, can you please let me know if it is you? Okay. Hi Zaya, good evening. Hello, Ugo Chinyere. Okay. Is my screen visible? I think it is. Good evening, Ugo Chinyere. So are we completely there? Or I think I should start because I'm actually managing my laptop battery. I saved it for David. I don't want to disappoint.
Well, there are still more, but they have 2 more minutes to join.
Okay. Like how many?
There's one other girl that attends me regularly. I don't know where she is now.
Okay. I think I'll just go ahead and start. It's just introduction anyway. Okay, good evening. Good evening, guys. I'm Zainab. I'm Zainab Balogun. I'm a UI UX designer and I'm also a UX writer. But then, like you, I'm also a learner. I'm still a learner UI UX designer. I'm still a learner UI UX. I'm still a learner UX writer. I don't know everything about all the UX, so if I make mistakes, pardon me, which I'm and I am here to take you on UX writing and its elements. So first, it is the practice of crafting words that users see. Can you see my screen or should I like zoom it in?
You can see your screen.
Okay. The process of crafting words that users see, that they read or hear when interacting with an experience. This usually includes text on button labels, error messages, menu options, notifications, confirmation messages, and all of that stuff. Next slide. What UX writing is not. It is not just writing copies or marketing copies to grab users' attention. Copies is different from UX writing, as in that copies is made to grab your attention and make you look back and convert. You get like to sell stuff. That's what copies is for. UX writing is not marketing or promotional copies. UX writing is not just writing for blogs. It's not just being fancy or funny with words. It's not about writing poems. It is not selling. Yeah, I already said that. It's not copywriting. UX writers use words to inform, to engage, and to retain their users. Basically, UX writers are tasked with helping users be able to communicate with an experience. They guide users through an experience. And by experience, I mean the digital product that they are using at that moment. So they provide the words that guide users through an experience, and these words can be invisible. You think you don't need words in an experience. That's because the UX writing is good. The ones you notice are the ones that are bad or not that good. But the ones you don't notice are the ones that feel intuitive to you. So why does UX writing matter? Hello, Ziama. Why does UX writing matter? Imagine an app. Space, I'm trying to say something. Okay, I'll go on. Imagine an app without words. A website filled with only design elements. This would not make sense at all. I don't know if you've ever imagined it, but imagine it right now. If you open an app or open anything, there's words, even if it's just like 3 lines of words or 2 lines of words, you need words to always guide you in an experience. So it would not make sense. What can make or break an experience, no matter how beautiful the experience is, it can make or break it. If the content are confusing or misleading or grammatically incorrect, the users will have a bad experience. So UI text are there to ease user frictions and frustrations in an experience. Please read that again. UI text, just like UX writer, yes, UX writers, they are there to ease the user frustrations and frictions in an experience. The user-centered content should be clear, very important. It should be clear, it should be concise, it should be very useful, and also it should be consistent and actionable. By actionable means that it should lead the user to make an action. Yes, and it should let them understand what it is that they are doing. That is the purpose of UI text in an experience in a digital product. So next one is, how do you know what to write? That is meeting the goals of your users. How do you know what to write for an experience? User research. That is one simple answer to this. That's not the only answer, but that is the most important answer. User research. You have to carry out user research to be able to know what to write in an experience. So UX writing involves creating content that strikes the balance between business goals and user it in harmony with intuitive UX. UX research points you to those goals and to those needs. You have to answer these following questions in order for you to know what to write for your user. You have to know what the users want, what goals they want to accomplish with your product, where they are in the journey, where they are coming from, what their emotional state is like, what their relationship with your brand is. That is, are they first-time users? Are they returning users? What does your business want them to do? What action do you want them to perform with your product? What would motivate these actions? How do you want to sound when you speak to them? And more. So a few tools or techniques to help answer these questions. Like we said, user research, but that's not the only one. Very important one, but not the only one. User journey maps, user stories, user scenarios, use cases, conversation minings. These terms, I assume most of these terms you've heard them before. This is not your first time because this is a UX design program. So these are very common in UX design. User journey maps, user stories, user scenarios, use cases. Conversation mining might sound new, but that is like finding out how users talk, how they interact with a product. Going to find out, like putting yourself in their shoes. That's what conversation mining is about. So the results and answers to these questions will lead you to learn about your users, to learn from your users, and to learn what language your users speak. And this and all of this is what would let you know what to write about your users, to write for your users, sorry. Next is, now speak and write the language of your users. That is voice and tone. Now we need to know the difference between voice and tone. But before that, the use of words that reflect the voice of a brand, that is voice. Speaking in the language of your users, the use of words to reflect the voice of the brand. This consistency in the use of words builds trust with your users while giving your brand or product a personality. That's what you call your brand's voice and your brand's tone. So the brand voice is what you say. The brand voice is what you say. The tone is how you say it. So both of us could be saying the same thing. For example, me and Isaiah could be saying the same thing, but the tone that we are using to say this thing that we are saying might be different. It might, you would receive it differently, and that might seem like we're communicating two different things, even though we are saying the same thing, but the tone is what makes it different. So yeah, a voice and tone design experience is very important. Consistency. You have to endeavor to be always consistent with your voice and with your tone when doing UX writing. Okay. So how do you know your words? How do you know that your words work? You test them. That is how you know that your words work. You test them, just like user research. You're trying to find out what the users want. To know how your words work, you test them with real users, whether they understand what is going on your screen, whether they understand the word that you wrote, whether they understand the experience, or they are confused by it. you test. User testing is how you know that your words work. You don't just assume that, yeah, I've written this and I understand my users, so there's no need testing. You need to test at every point of your design. Okay. What does a typical UX writing process involve? Just like designing, UX writing also goes through process. You need a flow, you need a process to properly write. You don't just jump in with your pen and pencil or with your pen and your notepad to start writing for your user. You have to go through a process, and this process is very quite similar to design process. If you can see this, you see that it is similar to your design process. I don't know if you've learned about it, but empathize, define, ideate, receive, wireframes, and prototype. These are all similar to design process, but in this case, it is for writing. So you empathize, you try to understand the needs of your users. We already talked about that before, how to know what they want, you carry out user research, and so on. And then after carrying out your user research, you define your problem. You know what the problem is, and you write that out. So then you start ideating, writing copy solutions, writing different copies, different UI text to know which one works. And not just knowing which one works, to be able to have different. You need different ideas basically, so you can pick from your first. The first copy should not be your only copy. You should always write different, just like in design. Your first wireframe can be altered. So ideating covers this quantity over quality in ideation process. You want to churn out as many ideas as possible, and at the end, vote for which one works more. Then you receive wireframes with detailed descriptions like the grid dimensions, layouts, design specifications, font size, just like design, but not too important like in design. And then prototype. You prototype by putting these words in the context of the user experience. Okay. So what are the core skills that a UX writer should have? What are the core skills that a UX writer should have? And as a UX writer myself, what are the core skills that I should have? This is good writing skills, content strategy, UX experience, user experience, ability to use different design tools, and it's not just Figma, like other design tools. It could be as simple as a notepad or as Microsoft Word, for being able to interact with the tool. Curiosity and agility, communication skills. Yes, you have to have communication skills. And what are you writing? You can't communicate with your users, and a lot of patience. Yeah, even in design, you need patience. And one that is not here, that is missing, is empathy. You need empathy to be a good UX writer. Ability to put yourself in user's shoes and try to find out what they need, how they can misinterpret this UX text, how they can misinterpret this UI text, or the different ways that they could mix it up with other things. So you need to empathize, you need to have empathy, you need to always put yourself in their shoes. This is a very key skill that a UX writer should have. I think I've covered this. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm done with this slide. Interesting. Am I done? So yeah, that is all about that. About this. This is quite even shorter than I expected to be. Go into the world and write. Okay, I want to point out something. Yeah. This one, for this course skills as a UX writer, you don't have to have everything right now. You can't say because you want to be a UX writer, you check this, whether you have a good writing skill, and that means yes, you're qualified for a content strategy or user experience. You don't have to have all this in check now if you want to be a UX writer. These are things you can be a good UX writer. You don't have to have them now. Even me, I'm still learning some of the things that are here. I'm not 100% in all of it. I'm still trying to learn empathy, to learn to find my writing skills and all of that stuff. So yeah, you always have to try to learn and adapt to those skills. So now that we are done with this slides. Remember to keep your words clear. And even you don't even have to be a UX writer to write we always write in a design. You're a designer and you are designing a product. You always need to use words. So these things will come in handy for you, even though you don't plan on being a UX writer, even though it is not part of your design plan. These things are very useful for you. Always ensure that whatever you are writing in your design, whatever you're putting on your Figma, whatever you are typing, is very clear, it's very concise, and it's very useful. If it does not make sense, take it out. If it does not communicate anything useful to the user, please take it out. If it is not concise, take it out. If it is not useful, I mentioned that before, please take it out. So anything that is confusing should not be in your digital product. Anything that does not make sense should not be in your digital product. So these are the things that you should always remember whenever you are writing, whether or not you are a UX writer or not. You should always keep these things, these three things in mind. And that's about that. I really hope this thing was recording. It's going to kill. So yeah, I'm done, and I hope that you guys could hear me throughout the class, and I hope that you understood at least a bit of what I was saying. So, Chidera, did you hear what I was? Okay, good to hear. Okay, Cheer, do you have any questions for me? Do you have any comments? Because I think I'm done with this slide. This is not my slide, by the way. This is the slide that I borrowed.
These slides.
Hmm?
Are we going to get slides?
I don't know. Chidera, does David give the slides?
Yes.
He gives fast. Okay. Okay. So that means you get it. You get the slides. I'm going to pass them on to him.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm here.
So for brands like Apple or Samsung, whenever they are doing product announcements,
yeah,
they always manage to like how do I communicate what they want to without really saying anything. Like if you I did an experiment where I watched one of Apple's announcement events, but I watched it on mute to see if I would still understand. And somehow I still understood it with the small, like their presentations have the least amount of text I've ever seen.
Wow.
So I wanted to ask, how is it possible for them to do that kind of thing with their writing? Is it possible for beginners like us to copy the same thing?
Okay, like to pass information across with like minimal words back.
Yes.
Okay, so see the brands you mentioned, back. You mentioned Apple, you mentioned Samsung. These guys are not small in the industry. Before, what they tried is small brand, like I don't know, it's technically a small brand. Look, maybe not, but a smaller brand cannot try it. They have to say something. They might not have the words on the screen, but they have to talk somehow for you to understand. But this Apple, this Samsung brands that write without, that display, that sell without words or that sell without voice, their presentation skill is very, very strong. And so you can definitely do that, but your presentation has to be very small, being that if what you are trying to display is the first thing that should be in the user's head when you display it to them should be A, and they should not even try to second guess it at all. So their presentation skill has to be very strong. They have to have the right amount of, they've done their research, they know what works, they know what does not work. So I'm sure they went through different user testing, usability testing before they could churn the advert out to make sure that even maybe a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old, that one is exaggerated, can understand what is on the screen. So the presentation skills has to be very strong for you to try to avoid words. And you are watching it, so you're not just hearing, you are watching, so you are seeing, you are engrossed. Yeah. So yeah, your presentation has to be very strong in that the user is going to understand what they are looking at and they won't second guess their mind. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chidera. Zaya, do you have any questions for me or comments? No. Okay. Ugochinyere, how about you?
I don't see that.
Okay. So, any of you here, trying to be a UX writer, or is just UX design? Is anybody here trying to be a UX writer? Is anybody here a writer?
No.
I am a writer, but not a UX writer.
Yeah. As a writer, just like when they say graphic designers, is find it easy. I mean, yeah, graphic designers, it's easy for them to try to transition into UX, UI, UX design. That's same for a UX writer, even though it's not the same thing. It's not writing blogs. It's not just writing articles for the product, but it's easy for a writer to transition into UX writing. So it's definitely a good path, and you should keep trying to learn and try to this skill up your skill is this skill. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, I'm still learning myself. And okay, I think I should recommend some books. There are some books that I have that I've read and some that I've not read. I'll send them to David so he can pass them on to you. There's one I just finished reading. I really enjoyed it. Writing for Designers. Yes, writing for designers. And there's also another one, writing in designing. Was it writing is designing? Yeah, those two books are really good. I'm still reading writing and designing, but I finished writing for designers and I really enjoyed it. It was short and straightforward. So if you don't mind, I can pass those books along to you to read. So I'll stop sharing. Welcome. I'll stop sharing my screen now. I hope that this thing was recording.